Hello, Josh Sideris here. Today I'm going to talk about the evil and deceptive double tilde operator in JavaScript. What is it? What does it do? And why should you never use it? You'll find out in this video. Well, I would call the double tilde a compound operator. And I don't know if that's an official term that's used, but really it's the concatenation of two operators. It's the tilde operator twice. The tilde operator in JavaScript represents bitwise not, and of course that will flip all of your bits. So if you have ones, it'll turn them into zeros, and zeros will get turned into ones. Of course, JavaScript doesn't have 8-bit integers, but this is a representation of what it does. There's a mathematical equivalence. For integers, you would have bitwise not of a variable x is equal to minus x plus 1. And if the operand is not an integer, that is if it has a trailing decimal point, then that decimal value will be truncated. So in general, bitwise not of x is equal to minus Math.trunc x plus 1. So let's break this down. What is the double tilde operator? Well, you can break it up like this, and then if we use the formula I gave on the previous page, this is what it looks like in expanded form. You have minus Math.trunc x plus 1 plus 1. The minuses can get pulled out, and as a result, the inner plus 1 will turn into a minus 1, and you can also pull that out because 1 trunc 1 is equal to 1. So this is what this looks like. And then, of course, you have minus 1 plus 1, that cancels out. You have a minus minus at the beginning of the equation, that cancels out. So you have Math.trunc x, and of course, that is just equivalent to Math.trunc x. So in other words, double tilde x, it's a shorthand way of writing Math.trunc x. But why use it? Let's take a look. Sometimes it's used in place of Math.floor, especially when you're dealing with negative numbers, because it always floors towards 0, even when you're dealing with negative numbers. So double tilde of minus 2.2 will floor towards 0, so you'll get minus 2 instead of minus 3, which is what Math.floor would give you. It's very useful pre-ECMA script 6, where there was no Math.trunc, and people are still running browsers like Internet Explorer that don't have Math.trunc available, and I think even certain versions of Node.js don't have it available. So double tilde is useful for those compatibility reasons where you don't have a Math.trunc function. It has a nice compact syntax, and come on, let's admit it. The reason programmers use things like this is because it's fun in an esoteric kind of way. But you should never use double tilde. That's why I called it the evil JavaScript operator. It's deceptive and it's evil, and you should never ever use it. First of all, JavaScript doesn't have integers. It has floating point numbers, 64-bit floating point numbers. All numbers in JavaScript are 64-bit floating point numbers, and they have limited precision. And what I found in my testing is that the double tilde operator makes precision error explode with large numbers. For instance, when you take this really long positive integer and double tilde it, you actually get a negative integer, so it's not even the right sign. And this created a serious bug for me a while back while I was working on a web application, because I had this block of code where I had this number that was guaranteed to be positive, and I assumed that the double tilde would return me a positive integer, and the number was very large, and it turned out that it actually flipped it to a negative integer, and it would cause an infinite loop, and the browser was hanging because of this. So it got me in trouble, so stay away from it. Another thing that might not be expected is that it doesn't actually work on negative integers, so it'll turn minus 5 into minus 4, which is probably not expected. So I hope I've convinced you to stay away from the double tilde operator. There are some pretty good alternatives. First of all, if you're using positive numbers, just use Math.floor, obviously, even though it's not as compact. Otherwise, if you're scripting for an ECMA script 6 environment, then go ahead and use Math.trunc. It'll be available. But if you're not, you can always create your own Math.trunc. It's actually quite easy. And I have the code here that you can just copy and paste, and I'll leave this in the video description for you. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more Josh Sideris.